Ezra Perek Dal. Vayishma'u sarei Yehuda Binyamin. And the enemies of Yehuda and Binyamin heard. Ki b'nei Agola bonim heichal Hashem Elokei Yisrael. That the people of the Golah, the people returned from the exile, are building, in the present tense, the heichal for Hashem, the God of Israel, the sanctuary for God. So we're introduced now to a new group of people who are merely called the Tzarei Yehuda and Binyamin, the enemies of Yehuda and Binyamin. Who these enemies were, we're not so sure. We'll talk about much more in class. But be that as it may, they weren't from Yehuda. They might have been quasi-Jews. People, maybe Samaritans, who had been resettled at the time of the Assyrian conquest in some of the area of Yisrael, and they are referred to as our enemies, and we'll see why in a moment. And they had heard that we are rebuilding the Heichal for Hashem. Vayikshu el Zerubbabel ve'el Roshei Avot, and they go to Zerubbabel and they go to the heads of the households. Vayomru lahem, and they say, Nivnei machem, we want to build with you. Ki kachem nidrosh l'Elohechem, because we also want to see, like you, we want to seek out Hashem. V'lo anachnu zochim, and it is to him that we sacrifice. Mimei esar chadan melech Ashur hamaleh otanu mipo. From the days of Esar Chadan, the king of Ashur, who brought us here. So from the days that we were taken here at the time of Assyrian conquest, we sacrificed to God, and therefore let us build a temple. Now you already see a couple of interesting things here we'll elaborate on in class. First of all, the Kri Uktiv, it's written one way, it's read differently. It's actually written Velo, which means no. But we read it Velo Lamidva, which means to him. So we read it as, we sacrifice to him, but really the way it's written is, and we don't sacrifice to him. So there's already a hint that maybe they're not so sincere in their desire to sacrifice to God. Furthermore, a simple question. If these Tzarei Yehuda were so eager to build a sanctuary for Hashem, the God of Israel, they've been living here all along. They were never exiled by Nebuchadnezzar, these Samaritans, or these people who were moved at the time of the Assyrians. So why haven't they built a temple until now? Now, Vayom Zerubbabel v'Yeshua. Now, Zerubbabel and Yeshua, sensing the fact that these people, these enemies of Judah, might not be sincere, Ushar Rosh Avot Yisrael, and the other member of the household told them, Lok lachem v'lanu libnot beit Eloheinu. It is not for us and you to build a house to Hashem, our God. In other words, we can't have you participate. Ki anachnu yachad nibneh. We will build alone. Yachad here means by ourselves. La Hashem Elokei Yisrael, kasher tzivanu hamelech Koresh melech Paras, as the king Cyrus has commanded us. So in other words, so they basically evoke their divine decree that Cyrus said, we have permission to build the temple, you don't, and therefore we don't want to build the temple, we want you to build the temple with us. So what happened? Because of this, the people of the land, namely the enemies of Judah, are weakening the hands of the nation of Yehuda, and they make them all confused, live note from building. So in other words, so now you have the very first example of indigenous people who don't want the Jews to return to Judea. They act as if they want to work with them, but then they work against them. And what did they do? They hired people to make decrees to get rid of their idea. Kol Yemei Koresh Melech Paras, all the days of Cyrus the king of Persia, Viad Malchut Daryavesh Melech Paras, until the days of Darius. So from the time of Cyrus until the time of Darius, we're going to have to do a timeline in class, but for this time, they actually not only did things to weaken us within the country to be merapim us, but they also hired advisors to destroy the decree. In other words, they worked the political scene as well. They went to Cyrus, they went to the Persian courts, much like the Palestinians go to the United Nations today, and they tried to weaken us. Now let's skip to the kingdom of Achashverosh. And it says, during the kingdom of Achashverosh, in the beginning of his rule, Katvu Sitna, they wrote a decree, Al Yoshvei Yehuda Yerushalayim, against the people of Judah and Jerusalem. What is the content of this royal decree that was written at the time of Achashverosh, we will discuss in class. Ubrimei atakshata akata bishlam mitradat tava ushar kavanato al atakshata melech paras uktav ishta'an katav aramat ugam aramit. And on the day of Artaxata, they wrote a letter. We're going to see, as we discuss, what the content of this letter is. We might discuss this next class. But for now, you see that we have in the days of Artaxata, these people who were Bishlam, Mitradat, Taval, and other enemies of Yehuda wrote some type of letter, and the letter was written in Aramaic script, and it was translated into Aramaic text. Now, what we're going to be doing is, for the rest of this parak, reading this letter in Aramaic. We'll do that next flip class, but just to know, just to go over what we did so far, so we see that we start with the story of Zerubbabel and Yehoshua, and they're trying to build the temple, and the Sarei Yehuda, the enemies of Yehuda, are trying to stop them from building a temple, and they're weakening us, first of all, physically in the land, and also politically by trying to send decrees, and it skips from the time of Cyrus to the time of Darius. Then, somehow, this parak skips ahead to another kingdom, the kingdom of Achashverosh, who you obviously know from the Purim story, and says that even at that time as well, there was a letter written against the Jews in Yehuda, some type of decree. And then it skips to Artaxata, who's also known as Artaxerxes, who is a fourth Persian ruler, and it says there as well there was a letter. So somehow this chapter is going to list up many, many different letters, both from the time of Cyrus and Darius, and from Achashverosh, and from Artaxerxes, against the inhabitants of Yehuda. So it skips many, many years. We'll discuss the details in class. But what you need to know is that the common denominator of all these letters is they were written by the Sarei Yehuda, Ubinyamin, the enemies of Yehuda, specifically so that we would not be successful in building the Beit HaMikdash and in rebuilding Jerusalem. Thank you.